I'm okay being the warm-up act after I heard who's coming after me. um, just a spectacular day. I'm not sure you can really describe what has occurred other than I think this is the beauty of college sports. It allows athletics to be that front porch analogy that allows an entry point to a greater, maybe obviously much more important area within the university. But it brings the campus together, it brings a community together like no other. And so just really proud of the staff, really proud of the student athletes, but I'm happy for everybody associated with this Northwestern family, and that's really far-reaching. So let me open it up for questions, and we can talk about anything that you're thinking about before we get Bryant and Sanjay and Chris here.
Wireless mics on both sides of the room, so if you'd like to ask a question, please get Ray's attention or Mitt's attention there on the left.
Jim, do you tell your fans basically look at the secondary market for tickets?
Yeah, absolutely. We get 350 tickets. NCAA allows you to give 4 or 6 to your student athletes. We're obviously going to give 6 to our student athletes, 6 to our coaches. If you run through the, core essential folks within the basketball program, there's just a handful of tickets left. We're going to give I think 25 to the students and 25 or so to donors. So secondary ticket market is absolutely where you should look to find a ticket.
I heard it was 450 shirts, 350.
If we executed the other additional 100, then it's 450. But as of last week, I was going off a 350 number, so I'm sure they executed the extra 100. Yeah. It just shows you, though, the minimal amount of tickets when you go to a bowl game. For example, when we went to New York, I think we had 8,000 tickets. When we went to Tampa, we had 12,000 tickets. So that's just a major difference with the NCAA basketball championship and bowl games.
You mentioned when you first met Chris that you were just impressed by his energy, and then he's talked a lot about his first recruiting class. How did you know that Chris would be able to bring in the talent that he's brought into Evanston?
Well, I don't think you ever truly know, but you go off your instincts, you go off your research, you try to look at it strategically. We had a great pool of candidates. As I mentioned, we had at that time in 2013, there were 5 head coaches in the NCAA tournament at the start of that tournament. And then we had 2 additional head coaches and then 1 assistant that we interviewed. And I just had a great connection with Chris immediately. Certainly I'd researched him well. I had talked to quite a few folks. My mentor is Kevin White, the athletic director at Duke, so I knew I could always go back to Kevin to talk to him. I had and I still have a really friendly relationship with Coach K. We both went to Weber Catholic High School in Chicago before it's now closed. So you don't know. But institutional fit to me ends up being at the top of so many areas, so many boxes that you're trying to check. Somebody that could understand a high academic place, somebody that would embrace that, somebody that had played at a high level, somebody that could recruit to that type of institution. He had all of those things. The one area that he lacked was head coaching experience. And the second thing I'll just say about that is, to me, as an outside observer, outside meaning not at every practice, not in every meeting, the correlation of Chris as a head coach has directly been with the way that this program has ascended. And I think that's what we all hope for in our careers, is that as we go along and the more we do it, hopefully the better we become at our trade or skill.
Jim, can you describe from your perspective how historic this moment is and what it means for the program?
George, it's hard because it's something that we've all wanted. I know since I stepped foot on this campus and would come here growing up, one of 10 kids in the city, I didn't really kind of connect that they hadn't been to the NCAA tournament, but obviously when I got into my professional career, I started to connect that. And when I came, it's similar to what Chris said. People say, why do you want to go there? Why is that the destination that you want to go? And I looked at it reverse. I looked at it at the possibility. And so to do something like this, and the residual that I think we all feel, it's for every player that ever put a uniform on. It's for every coach that ever walked up and down the sidelines. For every fan that's ever come in this arena or cheered for Northwestern. It's anybody that's ever gone to school here. Obviously, this market is a pro market. But this market, I also know from experience, loves their home teams. And I feel like that's who we've been with the city of Chicago, and certainly was for me. So what it means, it's really hard to put into words other than it's pretty magnificent.
Will you get nervous?
Will I get nervous?
Or you get nervous today?
No. Mm-mm.
Why not?
I think our resume spoke for itself. I know that there was some debate, and then I think we stamped it with the game against Michigan. But then there was, well, maybe not, you know, you lost to Purdue, and then you're going to play a Rutgers team that really gave you fits. You were behind in both the second halves against Rutgers, and, you know, if that doesn't go well, then you're looking at losing your last 2, and I think 3 of your last 10. But the way we played against Rutgers, and then I think we double stamped it when we played a road game in the quarterfinals in D.C. With that pro Maryland crowd. So I tried to line it up where I thought maybe we could be seated, and then maybe try to figure out where that would place us. But shoot, I guess like 10 times wrong, you know, along the way.
What is an 8? Essentially what you thought?
It's tremendous. Yeah, tremendous. That means top 32 in the country. That means just outside the top 25. It lines up against Wisconsin, who finished second in the regular season and second in the conference tournament. I love Wisconsin's program. So I think it's a statement that it wasn't, hey, slide in there, maybe it's the playing game, or maybe you're a 10 seed. I think an 8 seed says a lot about the program and the kind of year that we've had. Yeah, we like that, Bake. Absolutely. Cinderella, you know, everybody loves Cinderella stories. But yes, why not? Why not? I think that's the beauty of sport. It's you root for the underdog. You root for the team that seems to be on a little bit of a magic ride. We experienced it. The fall was amazing as a lifelong Cub fan to see that, to see what occurred, and have friends with like Tom and Crane and those folks. To watch that and to see that come together when, no, it was the curse and it was the Billy Goat and there was 1,000 reasons why they weren't going to do it, too many day games. That's similar things that we heard, right? That it's not going to happen, and, Scotty's injury, that's going to be a disaster. We'll never recover from that. But when you have a great group of kids that believe and you got a great group leading them, special things happen. So we'll ride that wave as long as we possibly can. I think so highly of Vanderbilt, and I really like Coach Drew a lot. And so, I don't know, it's the Brainiac hoops game or something. Maybe at halftime we'll compare SAT and ACT scores, and someone will get an extra point on the scoreboard or something.
Have you seen both Chris and then in turn his team grow since he's come here?
I think maybe the word is maturity with the program, maturity as a coach, maturity as a person, maturity leading. Again, we all want to do whatever we have, whatever our work is or whatever our passion is. We want to do it better tomorrow than we did it today, and we want to do it better next year than we did it this year, and we want to learn from those things. So, that to me has been a part of it. I think he's immensely connected with this group, incredibly connected. And, I think that's hard to do in this day and age when everybody comes from a program where they were the best player and they were 3, 4, 5-star student athletes. It's tough to get, young guys and women in other sports to fill in different roles. But I think that's about, do you believe in your coach? Are you connected with your coach? And I think that's part of what he's been able to do, but I think it's gotten better as the years have gone by.
Can you describe the impact this is going to have on the athletic department as well as the university as a whole?
I think it's going to be hopefully a tidal wave of a lot of positive things. Listen, in the last 5 years, we've won 2 bowl games. In our history, we had won 1 in the Rose Bowl in the late 40s. Basketball, getting to a place it's never been. We have 19 sports, 504 student athletes. I love every one of those sports, and I love those kids that represent us so well. But you better have 2 anchors that are solidified in football and basketball, because they're the emotional engine of your department and they're the financial engine of your department. And if you can get those 2 in really good place, I think it carries everybody else. It's almost that train, theory. The train brings the cars behind it along. So I think it's good. All the coaches have come up to me, and certainly have come up to Chris and say, you won't believe how this has helped us with recruiting, that soccer student athlete, or that field hockey student athlete, or that fencing student athlete. Because people want to go to places that they feel are successful, not just in one area, but in all areas. And so I hope it has a great residual. For the university, I'm looking forward to the next round of admissions and what that does. They say bowl games and those things affect 2 areas: 1, admissions, and 2, donors and giving levels. So to all those donors out there, make sure you're paying attention.
Sorry to put you on the spot,
Yeah.
but you did interview Bryce Drew, didn't you, for this job? Did you meet with him in Atlanta?
Yeah, that's a question I'm not going to comment on. Is that how it works in the media? If you had no comment, the answer is yes?
What can you say about the culture that's been ingrained over the past couple of years, not only within the basketball team, but the entire athletics department? Like you said, there's been a lot of success. What do you think that has to do with the culture?
Yeah, I think culture is critical if you're going to have any kind of successful organization. Our mantra has been, those of you have heard this before, but to provide a world-class experience for these student athletes. And it really cuts in 3 areas. Provide a world-class academic experience, great degrees, great education, the foundation of their future, allow them to have a really prosperous life. Second, we want them to have a great social experience. And for us, it's giving back over 6,000 hours of community service. And then third, the culture wants to be, if we're going to compete in athletics, then let's try to be successful. There's a reason why they keep score. So let's not run from that. Let's not downgrade expectations because we're in a really high academic school that maybe there's a reason why we shouldn't be as good athletically. Then we should do what the University of Chicago did. And I love that school. It's a founding member of the Big Ten Conference, but in the 40s, they decided to take a step back when it came to athletics. And that's all right. It hasn't hurt them as a school at all. They are a phenomenal school. And their athletic program is terrific. But they made a decision to drop down relative to their commitment to athletics. And that's something that obviously never happened here and I hope never happens. And so to be able to do that and not marginalize one for the other, that to me, I love that story of it. The final thing I'll say is I agree with Chris because we speak about it in the department all the time. We're just getting started here. Whether it's basketball, whether it's football, whether it's our other sports. We have over $400 million worth of athletic facilities going on. I'm not sure in the history of the place we did $400 million, truthfully. I'm not trying to be sarcastic or mean-spirited in any way. But we have a $75 million, 500,000 square foot facility on the lakefront for all 19 sports. We have the Welsh Ryan renovation at $110 million. And so we'll be out of here for the next 18 months. And we have a $20 to $25 million Treenan's Performance Center that will be state-of-the-art for basketball and several of our other sports. So that's still on the come. And to be at this place, I think, at least positions us to look for future success. But that's certainly not guaranteed.
Got time for one more for Dr. Phillips.
Jim, what went into tonight's event, just open doors for all the students, everyone, and how long ago had you planned this, and can you picture a better way to send this
Yeah, it was
building out?
great. It was great. And I'll say this, I can't thank CBS enough for allowing us to do it because CBS has all the broadcast rights, especially of the game, the Big Ten Championship game. And so I really appreciate, them allowing us to do that. But it was something that we had thought about, and it's that little secret that you don't say to anyone because you don't want it to get out there, and then everyone thinks you're jumping the gun. That what are you talking about? There's still 3 weeks left of the season, and you're already planning a party. You haven't even earned the right to plan a party. But you got to have those in kind of private offices. And then as we continued to play well, and then, as I described, I think we stamped a few wins here at the end. Then it was like, hey, let's not just do it with just a team. Let's do it with our Northwestern community and invite anyone that can come and have a great afternoon together. So appreciate it. Hope I see a lot of you, and we see a lot of you in Salt Lake. Thanks.